Hello again, everyone. We wanted to take an opportunity to just record an updated video for LeagueOS, specifically some match day procedures. A few things have changed since the last video, and we're going to include a little bit more detail about some other things. So check this video out for more up-to-date information about what you need to do on a match day in LeagueOS. So we're going to cover how to check in, both for team titles and for tournament titles like chess and Tetris, how to find the matches on the match pages once they're generated, two different ways actually, how to use the chat feature of LeagueOS, where to find the in-game rules document, how to start the match once you have everything ready to go, and how to report your scores. So first step, how to check in. This is largely similar to the last video with one difference that we wanted to just highlight. So you can check in for the competition by scrolling down and finding the competition page you want to go to. We're going to use Club Valorant as an example here. So what you need to be doing is going to the rosters tab at the top, not loading into the preseason page or whatever stage it is itself, but the rosters tab on the competition. So when we click that, we'll see all the competition rosters on the right side. We will also see any rosters that we ourselves are members of on the left side. And if there are multiple, you should see all of them. If you do not see your roster here, it's probably because your coach account is not on that roster as a manager. So check that out. If you need help sorting that, just open up a ticket on Discord and we can help you. Once you're here on your roster page, click the gear icon. From this gear, vastly similar to what it was before. You can manage individual players, make sure they have their registration steps completed, all of these sorts of things. What's new is that the activation button here now is a little bit more clear. It says the current state. So it says currently team is inactive. Inactive means you're not set up to get a match. In preseason, both varsity and club teams need to be activated to get a preseason match. Once the regular season starts, varsity matches will be pre-scheduled. Club matches, however, you will need to come in and activate your team. When the button says team is active, it's exactly what it reads. Your team is active. There's a little bit less ambiguity there than there was in the past. So team check-ins, if it says team is inactive, it is. If it says team is active, it is. For individual titles like chess and Tetris, it's mostly similar. We'll use Tetris as an example. We'll still go to rosters on the main competition tab again, not the individual stage. You'll see your whole roster. Again, you can go to the gear icon. And now you'll notice there are these little red lines that say inactive next to you and your players. If you want to activate a player, you can click on their name. And then over here on the right hand side, you can change to say player is active. That like flat line symbol, which is a little morbid, but I suppose gets the point across, will change to a heartbeat icon to let you know that that player is active. That will change for your whole competition roster. Individual players can also activate themselves in these tournament titles. You do not need to be the one that activates specific players. That being said, you do have that ability, if necessary, to go in and activate players if they, for some reason, can't do it themselves, but you know for a fact that they will be competing in the match. You can also verify to make sure your players have done it correctly. So a good point of practice would be to always verify your students for chess and Tetris are active if they should be and are not if they should not be, preferably before the check-in window closes so we can have the accurate matches generated. Once you do that, there's a few different ways you can find your matches. You can go back to the competitions here on the main page. So again, if we wanted to go to Club Valorant, then I could go and click into the stage that we're talking about, in this case, the preseason stage, and it will load into the rounds. By default, it shows all rounds simultaneously. You can, from the drop down, select your round, and what we're doing is we are naming the round with the date and the time. So for varsity in the regular season, this won't be as big of a deal. During preseason and for club matches, it will be important. So you can sort by your date and queue window to find your matches. Once you find your specific match, you can click View and go into the match page. The other way of doing this is you can go to your school page and you can scroll down and see scheduled matches for the day. Once the club queue or the preseason queue has closed and we've generated matches, they will show up here. Once the varsity matches are scheduled for the season, they will also show up here as well. So we can just click this button to take us right to the match page. Either way will work. Whatever you're more comfortable with is fine. Once you're on this match page, there's a few things I want to highlight. It loads by default where you can see the match chat, and it loads default to the channel being everyone in that match. You can change this. You can talk specifically with your team if you desire. You can talk specifically to moderators, meaning i.e. unofficials, but most of the time you're going to leave it here on the match setting. If after a few minutes of beginning conversation in match chat, the opposing coach is not responding, you can hit this at button here to ping coaches on that roster that will give them a notification and email that there's a chat waiting for them. Specifically, this button is really useful if at the varsity level you need to reschedule a future match because of something that is occurring on your school calendar. Make sure you ping coaches if you're trying to communicate about a match 3 weeks away to give them a notification that there's something happening in this chat. The rules document is also embedded here on the match page. If you go up to resources on the top right, there are just a few things here. The streaming tools are really useful if you're broadcasting your matches, but in particular for everyone is this Valorant one-pager in this case. When you click on this, it will load the rules document right here in LeagueOS with everything you need to know, so you don't need to go to the external document to find all of your rules. When you're ready to start your match, so after you've communicated with the other coach, you've got the lobby set up, you're ready to go, you can click this Start Match button right here on the top of the details screen. That does a few things. One, it starts API calls if the game has API integration and will bring over statistics, but also it lets you report scores. So once the match is finished, don't hit match finished yet. You can come up here and start reporting scores. So the overview tab by default is where it loads, and this is where a lot of information is. But to report individual games, of which there may be one or multiple depending on the title we're playing, you need to go to that game tab. And now we'll have the ability on the right hand side to report results for this game. We can type in specific modes. So there's a lot more detail here than we necessarily need, but we can choose it's a standard game. That will then let the platform know that it should be expecting scores of 13. So in this case, the match score was 3 to 13. And what you'll want to do is check the winner box. So then you can verify here that the match score is what you would expect. If you want to put in more detail about the specific map that was played, feel free to do that. The more information, the better for going back and looking at things. Honestly, I think we played... I don't know what we played. We're going to say we played Ascent, even though I don't think that's true. Once you verify that the scores are correct, you can hit Match Finished. It will then give you one more prompt and say, okay, are we sure that these scores are correct? When you hit Confirm, it will then allow the other coach to come in and confirm your results if they agree that they're right, or put in a dispute. You can hit this report button and dispute different options, and then we can come back and check. If after an hour the other team has not confirmed the results, it will automatically verify. If something happens where there was an incorrect score put in and we didn't catch it before results were confirmed, open up a ticket on Discord and we'll be able to go back in and change that in the future. So again, for reporting scores, if you're running into trouble, make sure the match state has been started with that Start Match button. Then you should be able to report scores via the game tabs at the top. It's very similar for the other titles as well, like Tetris. Students should be able to report their own Tetris scores. You should also be able to report for them. So let's just take a look at this match. You'll notice that that one was not played. Let's take a look at this one. So you notice at the top that there were 5 different games played. I, as a coach, can come in and see this, but I can't edit any of this because these are not my players. But you'll be able to do basically the same thing. It's just something like Tetris. There's 5 games instead of the 1 for Valorant. It should say finished in green once results have been confirmed. Again, that's either when the opposing coach goes in and confirms the results manually or after an hour for team titles. For tournament titles like chess and Tetris, that timer is actually set to 5 minutes because we're progressing rounds. So make sure that you get those results reported quickly, especially for Tetris with multiple rounds on a given night. Hopefully this video was helpful in terms of checking in, finding your matches, finding the chat, being able to start your match and report scores. Uh, that's why we're doing preseason this week and next, is to practice. So it's okay if there are some growing pains in trying to figure this out. Let's get it all sorted out this week and next week, getting ready for preseason matches to start on the 23rd. If you have questions, as always, reach out. We're happy to help. So on Discord or via email is fine. Let us know. And we're happy to assist in whatever way we can.